and today we're going through a 2005 drama, thriller, romance movie called Match Point. The movie starts off with Chris's voice talking about a quote that means, "Luck is a thing which we can't control." Chris Wilton is a retired tennis professional player. The next scene shows Chris speaking with Mr. Townsend. Chris requires his help in sorting a place to stay, and he also wants to be a tennis instructor at the golf club. Chris just moved from Ireland and plans to stay in London. Mr. Townsend agrees to take him in as an instructor, having seen that Chris has played professionally in the past. Later, Chris can be seen with a house agent showing Chris around an apartment. Upon seeing that the apartment is okay, Chris agrees to pay for the building, thus concluding their deal. The following day shows Chris training some tennis students. Shortly afterward, Mr. Townsend comes to him and introduces Chris to Tom Hewitt. Tom Hewitt is a young man and he is training to be a professional tennis player. Tom also comes from a wealthy family. Chris agrees to train Tom and Mr. Townsend takes his leave afterward. The two get down to have a short training. After they are done training, Chris and Tom sit down for a drink. The two start having a chat and they soon discover that they both love opera. Tom then invites Chris to the opera house the next day and Chris humbly accepts. The following day, Chris gets to the opera house and Tom introduces him to his father, Alec, his mother, Eleanor, and his sister Chloe. During the play, Chloe keeps staring at Chris romantically. The next scene shows Tom having a conversation with Chris on the phone. Chris tells Tom that he has a wonderful family and his sister looks very bright. Tom then tells Chris that his sister finds him attractive and has made plans to invite Chris over to their country house for the weekend. Tom assures Chris that he would love the environment. Up next, Chris and Tom can be seen training. Shortly afterward, Chloe joins Chris after Tom leaves. Chris teaches Chloe how to go about tennis and she giggles excitedly as the lesson goes on. Minutes later, the two have a conversation about their favorite places to go for a vacation. One day, Chris goes to visit the Hewitt family and while there, he meets an American lady named Nola Rice. He sees her playing ping pong and the two immediately get attracted to each other. Just then, Tom comes in, introduces Chris to Nola and informs him that Nola is his fiancée. After being acquainted with Chris, Nola leaves the room. Tom then tells Chris that he has been dating Nola for 6 months now, even though his mother doesn't approve of the relationship because Nola is a struggling actress. Multiple scenes now show Chris and Chloe as lovers. After seeing a movie together, the duo goes to Chris's apartment and do adult things together. Later on, Chloe can be seen persuading her father to give Chris a job as an executive in one of his companies. However, Chloe's mother tells her not to rush into things. Up next, Chris and Chloe meet in a restaurant. Chris asks if Chloe says anything about a job to her father and she says yes. Chris informs her that some associates of her father have spoken to him about a job opportunity, but he says he has to think about it first. Chloe tells him to think about it and urges him to accept the offer. As the duo discusses, Tom and Nola come into the restaurant too. While waiting for their order, Chris can't seem to take his eyes off Nola. Sometimes later, Chris can be seen resuming to his new place of work. Upon getting home that day, Chloe informs him how happy she is that Chris accepts the job offer. The duo plans to stay in for the night and watch opera. Just then, Chloe mentions that Tom and Nola invited them to see a movie, but she informs them that she and Chris are busy. Hearing this, Chris starts making excuses and this pushes Chloe to call Tom and accept the invite. Later that night, Tom arrives at the cinema without Nola. He informs Chris and Chloe that Nola has a migraine and wasn't able to come. Upon hearing this, Chris looks very disappointed and upset. Up next, Chris runs into Nola while he shops for clothes. The two have a discussion and Nola informs him that she is going for an audition. Chris offers to follow Nola to her audition and she agrees. Chris sits outside the building and moments later, Nola comes out informing Chris that she didn't get the act. Nola then tells Chris that they should go for a drink because she usually does so anytime she is worried. At the bar, Nola and Chris talk extensively about their relationships. Nola tells Chris that she met Tom at a party and they have been together since then. She mentioned that Tom's mother is the only problem because she doesn't like her. She explains that Tom's mother wants him to marry one of their distant cousins. Nola then says Chris's case is different. She tells Chris that he is being groomed by the family so that he can marry Chloe, unless Chris does something to blow the chance. Chris asks her in what way and Nola replies to him. She tells him that if he tries to woo her and the family finds out, it will be game over for him. Minutes later, Nola tells Chris to order a cab for her because she's had too much to drink already. Different scenes show Chris having fun with the family. They visit the stable and practice shooting together. One afternoon, Nola's choice of profession is questioned by Tom's mother, and Nola leaves the house in anger during a rainstorm. Chris follows Nola outside and confesses his feelings for her, and they passionately make out in a wheat field. Feeling guilty, Nola treats this as an accident. Chris, however, wants an ongoing clandestine relationship. At a family dinner, Tom's mother suggests that Chloe and Chris get married because they seem very in love. Chris then says he has been discussing the idea with Chloe. Chris takes a walk through the house and he accidentally runs into Tom and Nola while they make love in the pantry. Chris's presence interrupts the two lovebirds, but Chris apologizes. Chris looks upset and Tom asks him why, but he says it's probably because he drank on an empty stomach. Shortly afterward, Chris and Chloe get married. The duo then moves into a new beautiful apartment. Chloe tells Chris that she wants to get pregnant right away, but Chris seems hesitant about the idea. He tries to tell her that it's still early. Chloe argues that she wants to give birth when she is still young. The next scene shows Chris and Tom having a tennis training session. Tom seems distracted and Chris asks him why. Tom then tells Chris that he has broken up with Nola. He adds that he has met someone else and he is in love with his new partner. Later on, Chris tries to contact Nola, but all his efforts are unsuccessful. Some nights later, Chloe complains about the fact that Chris doesn't touch her again. Chris informs her that he is busy at work and he gets very tired easily. Soon afterward, Tom gets married to his new partner who is now pregnant. Chloe and her friend can be seen having a chat about the fact that she is not pregnant yet. Her friend suggests that she see a doctor about it, but Chloe doesn't buy the idea. In the next scene, Chris leaves his office quickly to meet up with Chloe at Tate Modern. Chloe plans to show him a new piece of art at the gallery. While at the gallery, Chris runs into Nola. He approaches her and they have a conversation. Chris asks her where she lives, but Nola doesn't answer him. Just then, Chloe and her friend Carol walk in. Chloe introduces Carol to Nola and Nola asks after Tom, and Chloe tells her that Tom is married and now has a baby with his wife. Chris then secretly asks for Nola's number and she gives him. Up next, Chris can be seen in Nola's apartment. The two do the adults thing to each other passionately. After they are done, Chris says it's hard for him to leave Nola because she is very beautiful. Later on, Chloe is seen urging Chris that they make love because she is ovulating. Another scene shows Chris and Nola coming back from a hotel, but they still proceed to make love in her apartment. Chris meets Nola's neighbor, Mrs. Eastby, while he is there. Multiple scenes show Chris not concentrating at work because he always sneaks off to meet with Nola. Tom's father once challenged him that his division is running at a loss, but he promises to do better. While Chris is spending time with his wife's family, Nola calls to inform him that she is pregnant. Panicked, Chris asks her to terminate the pregnancy, but she refuses, saying that she wants to raise the child with him. Chris becomes distant from Chloe, who suspects he is having an affair, which he denies. Nola urges Chris to divorce his wife, and he feels trapped and finds himself lying to Chloe as well as to Nola. Nola confronts Chris on the street outside his apartment and he just barely escapes public detection. Soon afterward, Chris takes a shotgun from his father-in-law's home and carries it to his office in a tennis bag. After leaving the office, he calls Nola on her mobile to tell her he has good news for her. He goes to Nola's building and gains entry into the apartment of her neighbor, Mrs. Eastby, whom he shoots and terminates. Chris then stages a burglary by ransacking the rooms and stealing jewelry and substances. As Nola returns, he takes her out in the stairwell. Chris then takes a taxi to the theater to watch a musical with Chloe. The police investigate the crime and concludes it was likely committed by a substance addict stealing money. The following day, as the murder is in the news, Chris returns the shotgun and he and Chloe announce that she is pregnant. Detective Mike Banner invites Chris for an interview in relation to the crime. Before he goes in to see the detectives, Chris throws Mrs. Eastby's jewelry and drugs into the river, but by chance, her ring bounces on the railing and falls to the pavement. This imagery ties into the opening scene when a tennis ball hits the net but bounces back, and Chris says, "The man who said, 'I'd rather be lucky than good,' saw deeply into life." People are afraid to face how great a part of life is dependent on luck. It's scary to think so much is out of one's control. There are moments in a match when the ball hits the top of the net, and for a split second, it can either go forward or fall back. With a little luck, it goes forward, and you win. Or maybe it doesn't, and you lose. At the police station, Chris lies about his relationship with Nola, but Banner surprises him with her diary, in which he is featured extensively. He confesses his affair but denies any link to the crime, and appeals to the detectives not to involve him further in their investigation, as news of the affair may end his marriage just as he and his wife are expecting a baby. One night, Chris sees the ghosts of Nola and Mrs. Eastby. They tell him to be ready for the consequences of his actions. He replies that his crimes, though wrong, had been necessary, and that he is able to suppress his guilt. The same night, Detective Banner dreams that Chris is the culprit. The next morning, however, Banner's theory is discredited by his partner, Dowd, who informs him that a substance addict found dead on the streets had Mrs. Eastby's ring in his pocket. Banner and Dowd consider the case closed and abandon any further investigation. Chloe gives birth to a baby boy named Terrence, and Tom blesses him not with greatness but with luck. Thanks for watching, guys.